Initially I was debating whether I needed to do a preview video for the T-54 Lightweight, new Soviet Tier 8 light tank. It more or less is a T-54, just with less armor and a bit less alpha. It's so similar to the T-54, they're very hard to tell apart. They even look basically the same. The lightweight version doesn't have the anti-aircraft machine gun mount. That's really the most noticeable difference between them. Driving, it handles like a T-54. Its gun handling is about equivalent to the T-54. The gun is pretty much an idiot gun with slightly nerfed alpha. It does 250 alpha instead of 300. Or, is it 300 or... I think 330 actually. 330 is how much alpha the 100mm guns usually have. Either way, it does 250 instead. I mean, really, this thing is just so much like a T-54. There's really not much between them except this is a little faster and obviously can't take as much damage. In the end, I decided to make a video anyway, because why not? It is a new tank and people will be curious, so I may as well just show it. Honestly, if you can play a T-54, you can play this. Just be a little more conservative about your hit points, and that's really all there is to it. I mean, it is a light tank, not a medium, so you probably shouldn't be playing it exactly as you play a T-54, but I don't know, I really don't quite know what to say in this case. It's just so similar to its medium tank counterpart. It does actually have some semblance of armor by light tank standards. Its turret will occasionally bounce things. In that regard, it's kind of similar to the Chinese light tanks, except that unlike them, this gun actually does a bit more damage. As I've said in the previous videos from 9.3 test, the test server at the moment is more or less just a light tank Thunderdome, so it's difficult to get gameplay of anything other than furious light tank brawls, which I'm not complaining about. If they made a game mode on the regular server that was just nothing but high tier light tanks, I would play it till the end of days. There's a lot of fun to be had in this. It helps if you look where you're driving. Now, I'm not sure how the camo values on this compare to an actual T-54. It is a light tank, so it does maintain camo on the move, much unlike the actual medium tank T-54. On the other hand, I would imagine its camo values to be about the same. I could be wrong, they may be ever so slightly better, but I would imagine they wouldn't differ by too much. So realistically, the T-54 would be preferable for more passive scouting, as it actually does have armor and a more powerful gun. This thing would be a bit better for active scouting, owing to its slightly better speed and agility and its ability to maintain camo on the move as a light tank. Charging headlong into a Tier 9 medium is perhaps not the best course of action for a light tank, but I had help coming and we were able to take this guy out together. So that was the end of the match. I haven't been playing this one very much, because exactly as I said, it's just so similar to playing a T-54. It's not really... I'm not going to say it's not fun or it's boring, but it's not as interesting as playing the new tanks. I mean, even things like the Walker Bulldog, that's very much just an up-tiered Chaffee, or the LTTB, which is an up-tiered T-50-2. Those at least have a bit more difference between them and whatever they're up-tiered versions of. This is just so comparable to the T-54 in so many regards. It's not really something I'm going to really play much on test, because, as I said, if you've driven a T54, you know how this handles. You just need to be a little more careful about your hit points, and you need to actually more consciously be trying to spot things than engage things. But the actual feel of the tank is pretty much the same. More 9.3 videos following. I got a couple more that I actually recorded from yesterday and this morning. I'll probably be playing the test server a little more over the coming week or so, and so there should be a steady stream of videos coming up before I get back to my regular ones. Thanks for watching. If you want to check out the test server yourself, I'm not sure how long it's going to run for, but it is up at the moment. The patch for it is quite large. It's about 7.5 gig, so it might, if you're on a shit internet connection like me, it might take a while to download. But yeah, it's so far been a pretty good test server. There's a lot of new stuff to play, which is actually quite refreshing after the last few tests where there was barely any new content. And actually all of it's fun. I mean, this is the least fun thing in the test because it's, you know, it's so similar to the T54, but the light tanks are just a riot to play. The 430 buff is nice, it feels good. The new models are really nice to look at. Honestly, it's a really good update. I'm hoping that most of it comes through unscathed. As I said in the Walker Bulldog first impressions video, I think that needs a little bit of a nerf. The rest seem pretty well balanced. I mean, if this is sort of going off what I assume Wargaming's intentions to be with regards to light tanks and their role in the game, but it seems to be that they're trying to give players perhaps not a view range bonus, because view range is already getting a bit carried away with some tanks, but light tanks now have a mobility bonus, a huge mobility bonus. These new ones are, you know, this is one of the slower ones. I mean, the American light tanks get up to 70-80 kilometers an hour quite comfortably. So it might change their role a little. We might see some more active scouting by lights in battles. I can only hope that we see a return to the old days when the Chaffee was first released, and we see actual packs of good players in light tanks going around molesting all the heavies and TDs. It would be really good to have something like that come along and kind of push people away from the current campy TD meta that's currently occurring on the NA server. I mean, Arty hasn't really done it. After it was nerfed, the TDs came out in force, and they haven't really gone back, even though Arty started to make a comeback. So hopefully between the proliferation of tier 10 mediums and these new light tanks, it'll start to bring the balance back a little more towards more flowing and exciting battles instead of just static camp fests.